All right, we are looking at composite area today. That's our title, composite area. Composite area is when we take different shapes and put them together to make a new shape. And that's a composite figure, and then the area is just the area of all of that together. So how we find the area of something when we have stuck a bunch of things together, there's a couple of different ways. You can either break it into smaller shapes like we were doing yesterday and find the area of each shape, or sometimes you can think of it as a big shape with a smaller shape cut out. So there's a couple of different ways to do it. For this first shape, I'm going to think of it as,
big shape cut out.
Yeah, we can do it as a big shape with a little shape. So I'm going to shade this in. It was actually shaded originally and it didn't copy very good. Don't spend a lot of time coloring that. I realize that could become a distraction. But I want you to think of that as the area that we're trying to find, all of that surface. Now imagine in your mind, if we were to draw, this is going to be a little imaginary line here. Imagine if we made this one big rectangle. How would we find the area of this giant rectangle? Raise your hand if you know. Jaden.
So if it's 8 yards across on the bottom, and it's 8 yards across on the top, if we draw that dotted line,
yep,
then it's the same for the height.
Right. So this would be my base. What is my height?
4.5.
4.5. So to find the area, we could just take base times height or length times width. So let's do that. So let's find that. So 8 times 4.5. So let me think. 8 times 4 is 32, and half of 8 is 4, so that would be 36. So that's the whole thing. But somebody cut out this little rectangle right here. So what I need to do is take away that area. So that area is 2 times 3, which is 6. And then I can just subtract those to get the area of this part. So 36 minus 6 is 30. How do I label this for area? Raise your hand, Silas. Yard squared. Because remember, we measure area with little square units. So this, if we were to draw a grid on here and break it up, that's how many little squares fit inside that shape. Now, if you don't like using subtraction for these, or sometimes you may not have enough information to do some of these, you could also break this into 3 rectangles and add the areas together. That would be another option. But it's actually a little faster to do it this way. Okay? So then let's take a look at number 4. So somebody cut, it says find the area. It should say find the shaded area. Let's write that in, because that's actually an important word for you to know. When they ask you to find the shaded area, that means not this white part, but the part that's all blackened in. So this is the same concept. They just took the hole out of the middle instead of taking it off the side. So what we would do is find the area of the big rectangle first, which is 9 times 7, which is 63. And then we find the area of the little rectangle, which is 4 times 6, which is 24. And then we're going to subtract those. And I'm not even going to use a calculator. I'm just going to do this by hand. So 3 cannot subtract 4, but I can borrow from 6, make that 5, make this 13. 13 minus 4 is 9. 5 minus 2 is 3. So I would have 39 inches squared. So it's the same idea. They just took the hole out of the middle. So when they ask for the shaded area, you're just going to take away the area of the little hole. Does that make sense? Yeah. They can also do these with circle problems. Sometimes they'll give you like a bullseye looking thing, like the target symbol, and they'll have you figure out just the shaded areas, and you'll have to take a circle minus a circle. Those are kind of cool. It's the same concept. You just subtract the areas. Okay, so now we're going to look at some where we have to do adding instead of subtracting. We could do subtracting, but I think on these adding make more sense. So this is a trapezoid, I know, because the top and bottom are parallel. Talked about that in the last lesson. And we're going to think of this as a rectangle with a square stuck on the side, just like if you had been working with tangrams and you took two shapes and stuck them together. It's basically what this is we just stuck two shapes together. So I'm going to draw this little line right here, and I'm going to think of this as a rectangle and a triangle, and then I'm going to put them together. Okay? So on the rectangle, we've already talked about how to find area. It's just length times width or base times height, whatever words you want to use on that. So we're going to take 7.5 times 3. So 7 times 3 is 21. 0.5 times 3 is 1.5. So it'd be 22.5 meters squared for that part. Not going to box that. That's not my final answer. That's just the area for this piece. Now, what's always tricky is doing the triangle, because the base of this triangle is not the whole 13 meters. We just chopped off 3 meters. So this would have to be 10 right here. And then this height isn't marked, but it'd be the same as this over here, right? So 7.5. So to do the area of the triangle, it's base times height divided by 2. So my base we just discovered was 10. The height is 7.5. And then we're going to divide by 2. So 10 times 7.5 is 75. The decimal just moves over when you multiply by 10. And then we're going to divide that by 2.
Is that 10 times 2.5?
7.5. The 7.5 that was in the height. So it's 10 times 7.5. We get that. That's 75. Then you divide by 2. And what does this come out to be? 37.5? Does anybody do it? So 37.5. So this part right here is 37.5 meters squared. So we found the area of this piece and the area of this piece. Now we have to put them together. So I'm going to add those together. I'm just going to write that down here because I don't have a lot of room to make that neat. So I'm going to add the 22.5 that was the rectangle to the 37.5 that was the triangle and add them together. So 5 plus 5 is 10, carry the 1, 7, 8, 9, 10, 0, carry the 1, drop down the decimal, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we come up with an even 60. So this would be 60 meters squared, okay? So when you have those trapezoids like that, what you want to do is draw a little imaginary line and break it up into shapes that we have formulas to do. The rectangle is just base times height or length times width, whatever terminology you want to use. And then the triangle is when you take base times height and divide by 2. Triangles are the only ones we've done so far where we cut it in half. Parallelograms, everything else is not cut in half. Triangles are half of rectangles, and that's why we do that way. Okay, so it does say to find the perimeter also. So we should read the directions. Thank you, Rhett, for finding that for me. So we found the area. It also says perimeter. So how do we find perimeter? Raise your hand if you know. Go ahead, Jaden.
Add all the sides together.
Add all the sides together. So for the perimeter, I'm just going to do it down here because there's not much room.
Yeah.
We're going to add 3 and 7.5 and 13 and 12.5 together. And so I'm going to do this in my head. I think that comes up to be 36. Is that what you got?
Yeah.
So 36 meters for the perimeter. So on the perimeter, you just add up the outsides. Okay? So perimeters, we just add up all the outside. And this lineage in the middle, we don't use that. If they had drawn something else in the middle, we don't use anything on the inside. Perimeter is just the distance around the outside. Okay, we have one more. And that is this arrow over here. I'll leave this up in case you guys are still writing on the last one. So on this one, it says find the area of the arrow. So they've actually drawn some lines for us, which is kind of cool. because this is going to divide this up into shapes. So let's do the rectangle first. So length times width, base times height. We talked about those mean kind of the same thing. I'm going to take 8 times 9.5. So 8 times 9 is, yeah, it will come out 76. So this is 76 feet squared. Now I want you to imagine this triangle is turned this way, and that's for a particular reason. Okay?
Oh, I know.
It's for a particular reason. Because this 4 that goes this way, I want to make that my height and make that 4. And then the base would be all of this, 2 and 8 and 2. So 2 plus 8 is 10, plus 2 more is 12. Do you guys see how I just turned this on its side so that I would already have the height? And then the formula for triangle is what? Raise your hand if you know. Tommy.
Base times height divided by 2.
Okay, so we got to take base times height divided by 2. So that's 12 times 4, or 4 times 12. It really doesn't matter. We're going to multiply. So 12 times 4 divided by 2. So 12 times 4, I'm just going to write down here because I'm running out of space, is 48. If we divide that by 2, we get 24. And this is measured in feet, so that area would be feet squared.
Don't we not box that because that's just a triangle?
Oh, that's right. That was just the triangle. You guys are on the ball. So that is the triangle, was the 24 feet squared. And then we need to add to that the 76 feet from the rectangle. So the 76 was the rectangle, and the 24 was the triangle. And we'll add those together. 6 plus 4 is 10. Carry the 1. 7, 8, 9, 10. We get 100 feet squared. It's a very satisfying number, 100. Okay, so what we are going to do for our practice page. It doesn't say to do perimeter, it just says area. So, I know, and that's tricky. So guys, when you're thinking about these problems, make sure we read the directions, because she's right. On this one, it asks for area and perimeter. This one only asks for area. So make sure you're reading the directions and doing exactly what it says. Now for the practice page, on page 99, I'm going to show you what we're going to do, and then I'll stop recording so we can work on it. I'm going to give you the other page, and I'm going to let you pick one shape. You might want to pick one of these down here just because they're easier to read. But I'm going to let you pick any shape on this page. You're going to cut out only one box. You're going to glue it on 99, and you're going to work it out. Any one that you want. Okay? So you get to choose. Yay! It's kind of exciting.